and we always often talk about is governance, risk, audit. I believe strongly that it is never about age. Virtual platforms very often, especially with conferences, is very much one. Keen to take up training and certifications and keep myself up to speed. I like that kind of attitude.
Hello to all our viewers, welcome to our second episode of Cybersec Career Chat. I am your host, Damien. Today, we are pleased to have Stephen, President of ISACA Singapore Chapter, on board with us to chat about some of the career questions that we have for him. Let's get the conversation starting. Hello, good morning, Stephen. Thank you for coming on board on our second episode of Cybersec Career Chat. Thank you so much for taking the time off. So, let's kickstart the whole conversation, by having a good icebreaker, easy questions. Would you like to share with us how do you get into the cybersecurity industry?
Okay. After graduating from NUS Computer Science back in 1997, I joined back my alma mater and then set up the NUS Computer Emergency Response Team. That was sometime around 1999-2000, and also set up one of the largest honey nets outside the United States under the auspice of TC³M, which is one of the largest cybersecurity associations at that time. I was the director of the GTech labs then, and we run large honey nets, including wireless honey pots.
Yep.
And observe and monitor the different type of attacks that hit those honey pots. In fact, one of the attacks that I personally analyzed was a SSH bounce malware, and that research was picked up by SANS Internet Storm Center, which then posted up on their daily diaries. So that was interesting, and that was how I started my cybersecurity career, and I have not looked back since.
You haven't looked back since.
Yeah.
Oh, you mentioned about, I'm kind of junior in this industry. You mentioned about CISA. Is CISA still exist? Because I don't really hear it much in the local context in Singapore.
Yeah, CISA was a non-profit association that was set up by folks from DSO and so forth. So Aloysius Cheng was one of the pioneers to lead the initiative. Subsequently, it was subsumed under AISP, the Association for Information Security Professionals. Actually, the first name that it had was called INSEP, but they made it better sounding AISP. So we formed the pro-tem of the AISP before we hand over the reins to the rest of the folks.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it was like kind of the foundation of AISP now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. That's right. So the HoneyNet project I didn't continue on. I handed it over to CISO, who then proceeded to lead the HoneyNet project to further areas.
Okay. That is very good insights. And if people are still looking into various aspects that you have worked on earlier, they would pick up from the conversation and approach the right person. So my next question is, people's perception about cybersecurity is about hacking, red team, blue team. Is there other cybersecurity domain that people overlook or they don't even realize is within the industry itself?
Definitely, I think cybersecurity is this and beyond. When we talk about red teaming, pen testing, computer or network forensics, zero-day vulnerability and exploit research, bug bounties. All these are so-called the sexy side of cybersecurity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But there is the other side, which is about how much security is considered enough for an enterprise. So as an enterprise, they cannot keep pumping money into every single solution out there. So how much security and maturity in terms of processes is required? As a business, it has to maximize its business benefits, profit margins and so forth to stay above the water, yet optimize resources and risk. So to optimize risk, this is where risk governance come in. How much is considered enough? And this is where there is a need to align technical risk to business risk. So as technical folks, when you start off in your career, you would play with a lot of toys. But how do you relate what you have done to what the business requires to stay afloat, or what the business requires to make a profit? Where does your budget come from? Your budget to play with these toys come from the fact that there is alignment between the investment in these technologies to the business objectives of maximizing their business returns while keeping their risk at bay. So that is where the risk appetite comes into play. And we often talk about optimizing risk and not about reducing risk to a minimum, because we all know that there is no 100% 100% security, right? There's no foolproof way of ensuring security. So you must know where to draw that line, and that drawing that line needs that knowledge of risk governance and risk optimization. So in short, the other areas, besides the sexy side of things, the other areas which is important when you want to talk the business lingo, when you want to talk the C-level lingo, is governance, risk, compliance, audit, as well as now privacy as well, because privacy is getting heavily regulated.
Okay. Wow, this is definitely not the sexy word that people in the industry get used to. It's always about pen testing, malware analysis, red team, blue team. These are really different kind of lingos that you have spoken and that haven't really been explored out. Thank you for sharing other domains that people can really explore other than pen testing. There's always a question, people now moving into new career or into the cybersecurity industry, they will always be asking, am I too old, 30s, 40s, 50s, entering into this industry? And when do you think it's too old for one person to come into the cybersecurity industry?
That's a good question. I believe strongly that it is never about age. So there's a lot of drive in the diversity space. When we talk about diversity, it's not just about gender itself, but also about not making the age discrimination. And as far as what I've seen so far, is that it is important to have the passion as well as the spark for knowledge. These are the two key areas which I look for when I interview potentials. So I don't focus on the age, but I look at whether is there that spark in their eyes or not, whether they are keeping themselves relevant. You can tell whether they are interested in cybersecurity I'm not expecting them to tell me what is the latest tactics and techniques under the MITRE ATT&CK framework, but minimally what I'm expecting is for them to keep abreast of what is going on in the world itself, whether it's the SolarWinds breach or the Exilion breach. At least they can communicate that to me.
Okay.
So I've seen folks who are old, they are able to still communicate, show me their passion, their hunger for knowledge. Whereas there are young people who I turn away, who come and really disconnect from what is happening in the world. They are sort of fresh, and that is important, because I feel that to be able to, just now I was sharing with you about optimizing risk, right?
Yes.
To optimize risk, you must know where you are in terms of your security posture. You must also know the risk posture, what you are up against.
Okay.
Right? That's why we always talk about 孙子兵法, 孙子 art of war in our community, right? That you must really know your enemies, and you must have that minimum appreciation of kind of risk out there to be able to make good decisions and do the right things right.
Oh, okay. Because in your reply, you say about spark, passion, how do you determine one's passion and spark during interview?
That is where you can see that lit up in the eyes. When you talk about a certain subject, they will sit up, show their interest, and then go deep into it. I mean, I have asked, even if you are not familiar but you are interested in, you should be able to share something about it. Show that you have the keenness to learn and go and find out. I mean, I've seen folks who I interviewed, I asked whether he's familiar with OT. So in one camp, I have those that tell me, I'm not familiar with OT, that's it. And the other camp of people who tell me that I'm not familiar with OT, but I've read up about some of the attacks out there like Stuxnet and so forth, and I'm keen to learn. I'm keen to take up training and certifications and keep myself up to speed. Yeah. So that is the other camp, which I like that kind of attitude, that kind of growth mindset and positivity. Yeah.
Okay. So during your interview, do you have a test to determine one's passions or their spark?
It is true. Their responses to me, their facial expressions, their body language. As I give them that set of questions, I have that list of 30 questions, which is something that I curated to cover various aspects, whether it's from the IT side of things, from the OT side of things, from the red or the blue side of things, to test whether their knowledge is there and also find out about their passion.
Okay, I think that might be a very interesting interview questions that any HR people that's watching the conversation and they may come and approach you to ask about it. As we are still talking about hiring matters, with every job postings asking for years of experience, which kind of deter new people coming to the industry. What's your advice or your take for newcomer coming into the industry then?
My advice is that don't let that deter you. What is important is to what I call really the TC&M. Doesn't stands for traditional Chinese medicine, but it's about taking the necessary training and certifications. That's the T part. Certification is the C part, but if you don't go for the certifications, go for competitions. Go for whether it's capture the flag, competitions and so forth. And so I've mentioned about 2 C's, right? There's certifications, there's competitions, and the third C is actually the community.
Okay.
So join communities, there's a lot of associations out there. Just now we were talking about AISP. There's also ISACA Singapore Chapters. There's IC Square and so forth. Join Birds of Feathers. Join hacking people who are interested in sharing knowledge, where they organize capture the flags competitions and have fun and learn through the process. And the last one is M. Stands for mentoring. So mentorship. So find a mentor. Find someone who has been through that journey from graduating, even before graduating, all the way to where this person is. He can be a cybersecurity expert, he can be a CISO, he can be an audit head, he can be governance head. Find a mentor who can share with you the pitfalls as well as the paths of least obstacles and so forth, and you can learn from that. So I think that is important. TC&M or TC³M.
I think you also mentioned about community and stuff like that. We do see community doing on virtuals and stuff. But sometimes people still prefer face-to-face. With COVID limiting a lot of in-face meetings and conversations, how can people come together to meet, or how do people find the community to go and meet, or virtual platform to meet, for new people that's coming to the industry?
That's another good question. So, yes, virtual platforms very often, especially with conferences, is very much one way. Someone speaks, talk about a topic in depth, and then people post questions. The audience post questions in the chat window. There is very little interactions, and this is a feedback that often you hear from folks who attend these conferences. And there is growingly conscious efforts to create these virtual interaction platforms. So for instance, ISACA Singapore, we hold regular member social evenings. During the member social evenings, we will create breakout rooms. So each breakout room is really free for all, for people to network and discuss about anything and everything. So it is like you go to a conference during a coffee break or lunch, you go to a table, you gather over there and drink and start making friends and chit-chatting with one another. So that does help. And through that, I encourage folks to join this kind of networking platforms, as well as roundtables as well. There are also virtual roundtable discussions where you can share your views and learn from each other, because ultimately we are only as strong as the community or the ecosystem. Nobody knows everything.
Okay, it makes some sense then. I think you also mentioned, the last M about mentoring. That's something that I would like to ask much more. How do one approach a mentor then? If I'm new or I'm a fresh grad, who should I find my mentor from? Because most of my times, if I'm not stuck with a community, I'm only know my teacher or my lecturer. How should one find their mentor?
Yep. There are many avenues. First and foremost, many of the associations out there would already have student chapters. In the polytechnics, the universities. So again, ISACA is one of them that have student chapters where they can join, and then that will form the bridge for them to link out with professionals. Secondly, ISACA Singapore has also embarked on a mentorship program. This mentorship program covers a few areas. So from ISACA HQ itself, we have this umbrella of initiatives called One in Tech. Under One in Tech, there is We Lead Tech, which is about enhancing the technical competencies, expertise for underprivileged folks. And then we have the She Leads Tech pillar. It's about women in cyber. And then the third pillar is on young leaders in tech, to train the young leaders. So we have been actively sending out surveys to our community, asking for people who want to volunteer as mentors, as well as folks who are keen to be mentees. So there are many ways of running these mentorship programs, and we are ISACA Singapore. We are still in our early phases of rolling out these mentoring programs. We hope more people will join us. The approach that we are taking is a one-to-one private match. So the mentee tells us what is the area of his interest. We will find a mentor who has matching experience to match, and it's a private match. So nobody knows that this mentor is matched to this mentee. Except the secretariat itself, ISACA Secretariat. So the other part, even if you don't go on all these programs, right? Create your LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn is a very good platform for folks of different experiences to come together, participate in the conversations, and interact. So that is how you go and also find mentors. I have people, strangers coming to me who I don't know before, asking me whether is it okay for me to mentor them in certain areas, because they look at my profile and feel that there's a match to what they are looking for. So I'm really open to that. I mean, as long as time permits. If nothing else, even if there is no time for us to have a chit chat, we can always communicate through the LinkedIn messaging platform. Tell me what is it you are keen to find out. I can point you to resources. I can give you some pointers and so forth.
Okay. Okay, that's kind of fair point, and you also stepping up to be mentor in the LinkedIn also if people want to approach you. I think in terms of mentorship, do you think like for any mid-career people also can go on board to it? Yeah.
Yes, definitely. I've seen folks who are not in the cybersecurity line cross over to the cybersecurity line, and they need some form of guidance as to what they need to do the bridging, and that is where the mentor can step in, advising on the type of certifications, advising on the type of routes based on his past experience. First, take some small steps before you make that big leap, and so forth. So I've seen mid-career people who successfully make those mid-career changes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think that is really helpful for mid-career to go on mentorship, because it's kind of like jumping to an industry that you have no idea where to lead to.
Yeah. So mentorship targets not just mid-careers but also fresh graduates who may not be certain what to expect in some of the fields out there, as well as undergrads. So some of them said, like earlier we were having a discussion that pen testing is sexy and so forth.
Yeah.
What is it? Some of them, I've seen mentees who come to me, they just want to go into pen testing without realizing exactly what it is about, because they heard of it mentioned a lot.
Yep.
And in school, maybe there's a lot of talk about pen testing, or maybe they want to go into architecting, security architecting, but they're not sure what a security architect actually does on a daily basis.
Okay.
And what is his objectives of optimizing that architecture to protect against hackers and so forth. Yeah. So that mentoring discussion definitely helps to provide other perspectives that the mentee may be blindsided to.
Yeah, as you mentioned in our first, I think second questions that we talk about, things that people always overlook. I think it does really help where a mentor really point them to a direction that they feel it might be the place where they need to be at. You being a pioneer in cybersecurity industry, what is your advice for folks, cybersecurity folks in the industry to be making their profile more highly desirable?
To make the profile more desirable really is about showing through your actions your ability to apply what you learn, as well as your passion.
Yep.
So I shared about LinkedIn, I shared about communities. So building the profile is really about interacting with people, interacting with what they call birds of feathers sessions, where you share and learn from one another. And through that, people get to know you, and you also get to know other people. So one of the common questions that I get is, I want to go into a specific industry, but I may not have the experience in the industry. So how do I make up for that shortfall? The way to make up for the shortfall is, besides finding mentors, is to interact with people from the industry, discuss and understand how they apply certain things, what are the nuances in the industry itself that you can learn. Maybe there are certain constraints and limitations, and through that interaction, you learn how to apply what you your knowledge to practically to that kind of environment. So I have interviewed folks who have never worked in specific companies, for instance, OT or maritime companies. But when I do scenarios, because in my list of questions, I'll ask scenarios. If put yourself in this type of scenario, what will you do?
Yeah.
And they can tell me very good, very pragmatic answers. That doesn't come from theory, which may not be pragmatic in that environment. Because, like I said, we are talking about risk optimization.
Yep.
In theory, you want to secure everything, but in reality, it's not something that's possible. So how you approach the problem statement shows your maturity in thinking and shows that you know how to apply your knowledge, and that is what is important.
Okay, I think it's kind of very interesting that your thoughts about your interview questions. I think it needs to boil down back to the interview question that I mentioned. I think people will ask you more about your interview question that you curate. Before we round off the sessions, what does ISACA has for the community plan out? Exciting plan does ISACA Singapore Chapter plan for the community in 2021?
Okay. First and foremost, I'm not sure how many of the folks out there actually is familiar with ISACA. So maybe I just do a quick recap of what ISACA is. So ISACA has been around for close to 54 years. It has been a non-profit global association comprising more than 150,000 members across 224 chapters in 188 countries. So it provides thought leadership as well as training and certifications in the area of governance, risk, compliance, audit, cybersecurity, and privacy. So its book of knowledge actually is based upon COBIT, control objectives for IT, as well as recently, just a few years back, acquired CMMI. So it marries that security capability maturity into the COBIT framework itself. And it is a big concern. So when people talk about ISACA, they think about certifications like CISA, which is for auditors, CISM for managers, security managers, CRISC, which is risk certification, and then CGEIT, governance of enterprise IT. These are the 4 big certifications. But beyond those certifications, ISACA also carry many other certifications like CSX, cybersecurity, Nexus, fundamentals, and professional. And recently, it has rolled out a slew of other certifications. CCAK, which is Certificate in Cloud Audit Knowledge, is the one and only audit certificate for cloud. And this was developed in collaboration with Cloud Security Alliance. It also has recently released ITCA, which stands for IT Certified Associate, because it is fully aware that there could be a potential gap, a big jump between when a fresh grad comes out from university, right? And getting that CISA or CSM. Because CISA and CSM, to get certified, you need minimum number of years of experience, 2 years, 3 years, and so forth. And the ITCA is that bridge. So IT Certified Associate is a certification to upskill young professionals who intend to cross over or come into this as an industry newcomer, come into cybersecurity as an industry newcomer, or even in the areas of audit and governance. And so that is ISACA itself. It's a very big community. In fact, April is our volunteer appreciation week. So ISACA is coming out with a series of appreciation activities for volunteers. So ISACA Singapore Chapter, we are now close to 3,200 strong. We hold 2 to 4 events a week covering technical areas, she leads tech, diversity, as well as we lead tech, which is our CISO firesides. And upcoming will be our mentoring programs that we were talking about, as well as our roundtables. So we engage people, engage our senior leaders, past presidents, senior folks for these roundtables to provide additional thought leadership. In fact, we have been releasing survey results from our membership. We have surveyed our members. This year will be the 3rd time we survey our members for the Singapore threat landscape, as well as security posturing. And we did it in conjunction with Frost & Sullivan to come up with this Singapore ISACA membership specific report. And this report we also share with our members, and they can take it back to them and benchmark their company practices, benchmark their company's risk approaches, risk governance approach against the survey results. And members find that beneficial. So we have held international conferences as well. This year we held our inaugural CISA conference in March.
Okay.
That was very well received. And annually we also organize what we call GTEX.
Okay.
Cyber Governance, Technology Audit and Compliance and Security GTEX International Conference. Last year we have 400 plus attendees out of 500 plus registrants, and responses have been very positive. Our coming GTEX conference is going to be held on 2nd of September.
Okay.
So I hope more people will join us, because we are a closely knit community. So we have other chapter presidents or other chapters coming to speak in our event. So we have speakers from Belgium, from the States, from Israel, and so forth, who come into our conferences and share their knowledge and know-how. So our global presence is our strength. So we tap on this global community of mindshare, and that is a key. I believe is one of the key reasons why we won the Regional Non-Profit Association Award 2 years ago. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So are you guys planning to be a hybrid event for the upcoming GTEC?
Well, it's a risk governance exercise. We have planned for definitely a hybrid, but we also have put in some backup plans and see how it goes. But come what may, we have the necessary engagement platforms, whether it's physical or virtual. What we want to do is to bring value to the attendees and get them engaged, and after the end of the conference, be able to take away with them knowledge and experience that can help them in their work and their growth in the industry itself.
Okay, thank you so much, Stephen, for all your sharing and sitting in with us to have a conversation with me, and taking your time off. We really thank you so much. Pentester Academy TV thanks you so much.
Thanks for having me,
Stephen and ISACA Singapore Chapter, for to sit on board with us to discuss all the career questions that we have for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much as well.
That's a wrap, and thank you, Stephen, once again for your time in coming on board to the show. For more information of the initiatives that ISACA Singapore Chapter has for the community, do look into our video description. If anyone have any comments or questions to ask Stephen, please put it into our comment box so that Stephen will be able to reply to you guys. Don't forget to subscribe to Pentester Academy TV for more content on industry insights and Pentester Academy learning materials. That's all, and thank you so much for tuning in to our sessions. I will see you next time. Stay safe, everyone.